everyone, and welcome into the Rochester Press Box. Nice to be with you. Bill Pucko here. Tariq Spence, how you doing, man?
All Major League Baseball is doing is just handing out billions. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Pat Duffy, how you doing? Who are you wearing?
Okay, first of all,
Double zeros?
Sable play. It's the last 0-0 jersey in the history of the NHL. Marty Biron wore it when he first came up in Buffalo, and they made it against the rules, so I got the last one.
Now, this isn't your full-time job, I know, doing the Press Box once a week.
No.
I think give you guys a chance to talk a little bit about, what you're up to. You got the podcast.
Yep.
Talk about it.
Yeah, when I'm not in the break room on CMF, Let's Go Duffalo. It's on the Odyssey app. You can get it wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. It's myself, my brother Ryan, who has been on the show before. It is the best Bills football podcast hosted by two Irish brothers.
Wait a minute.
There you go.
He's forgetting one more cast member, the infamous Duffy voice that makes an appearance all the time.
Yeah, and if you want to hear the infamous Duffy voice, you got to go check it out. Let's Go Duffalo.
Yeah,
I bet it'll come up in the next half hour.
every impression of everyone is the same voice.
And Tariq, you're telling me based off the success of his podcast, come start of the year, you're thinking of doing one yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, he's like a runaway freight train right now, getting on top of it all. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that would be a great thing.
Well, you want to be a guest on there? I know who's not going to invite you on his show.
Well, you bring Pat, you bring several people.
So what I do?
Nothing. I mean, that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Hey, let's talk a little bit football, NFL. This the last week just passed. A whole bunch of things changed.
Yeah.
Right at the top, Garoppolo's out in San Francisco. The Ravens lose Jackson. The Dolphins got routed. Bengals beat the Chiefs. Where do you start? I mean, it's a reshuffling of the deck, it seems to me.
I know we'll get to the Bills segment, but you gotta love last Sunday. I mean, the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Chiefs all fall. Bills go to number one. We'll get to that.
Without playing, they go from 5 to 1.
Well, they played some team on Thursday, but let's not go that far back. I'll just say this: it was a great Sunday to not see your team play. That being said, though, this Garoppolo thing is interesting. I get these conflicting reports. The foot is bad. The foot is not that bad. He could come back by the playoffs. What kind of team are you going to have? They've got a quarterback. Who knows if that guy's going to be I don't even remember his name. We'll see if he wins this week. Then I'll maybe remember his name. We were at this season so far where we've got these backup quarterbacks that come in. We love them. They're great. They lose a couple of games and everybody forgets about them. And then we don't know who's going to start the following week. So now San Francisco's in that boat. It's interesting. I like to see how this all plays out. Let's see where Tampa is in a terrible division. Let's see where the Raiders finish. There's a lot of stuff still in the area.
I like setting the bar where you've got to win a couple games before Tariq will remember your name.
Yeah. Mike White was the last time. I'm not doing that again.
How dare you forget the name of Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy? And I don't know if Brock Purdy being so successful against the Dolphins says great things about Brock Purdy or terrible things about Jimmy Garoppolo, because it does seem the 49ers offense is plug and play, right?
Or the Miami defense.
Okay, well, I mean, and that's just it. That is my favorite part of this weekend, is for the last 6 weeks, I've been screaming at the top of my lungs that the Dolphins are paper tigers. They are paper tigers. If you look at the wins that they've had the last 5 weeks, they played no defenses. Most of the teams, if not all of them, were under 500. It reminded me a lot of the Patriots run they went on last year, where they won 7 straight games. They caught the Bills in that Typhoon game, and they caught the Titans without Derrick Henry. And then all of a sudden, when good teams come home to roost, the Dolphins are in trouble. You lose to San Francisco. You've got to play San Diego, that has a very formidable offense against that Miami defense. And now you're playing in prime time Saturday night in Buffalo. You're coming back from the West Coast to Miami. You lose a day of preparation, having to play Saturday night. The Dolphins are in trouble, and I'm not going to say I told you so this whole time.
I was going to ask you said last week they were going to lose 4 straight, didn't you?
I believe I'm 3. I believe that the Dolphins are going to lose. They lost to San Francisco, check 1. I think they lose to Los Angeles and the Chargers, and there's no doubt in my mind that the Bills will handle business in prime time.
What do you make of Cincy KC?
Cincy is always interesting. This is why I said beware of them with Buffalo. That's the only really appointment that scares me down the line for their schedule, because they can show up on a day and they keep it close and they keep it interesting. I think what this does, though, is shows that Kansas City's firepower, they don't have that punch anymore. The Bills might have taken more weapons away from them defensively, and I just was expecting Kansas City to just be like, all right, here's your knockout blow. I think we're starting to see a little bit of that offense come unraveled late in games. Close games, teams like the Bengals, teams like Buffalo, they can take them very easily now. That you couldn't say that 2 years ago.
I mean, I agree with them. Look, the bottom line is this. If you want to look at straight statistics, the Chiefs have lost to the Bengals and the Bills, who are the cream of the crop teams that they've been playing out of the AFC. I mean, they have
this much too, though.
Okay,
the margin, I know, but the margin between those 3 teams, I think, is really small.
You want to talk margins? Let's talk about 13 seconds left in a playoff game last year, right? Like, I don't want to hear anything about margins from anyone outside of Buffalo.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is this: the Chiefs have the easiest schedule remaining. They get the Broncos twice, Raiders, Seahawks. There's one other team who's terrible. Texans, thank you. The Bills are going to have to win out to make sure they hold on to that first overall seed. So to Tariq's point, it's all wide open the way that the Ravens and the Bengals are so close. The only team that I'm counting out right now that seems to be a good team is Tennessee. I don't know what Tennessee's doing. They just fired their general manager this week. Yeah. Well, look at what A.J. Brown is doing in Philadelphia. Yeah. What made you think that was a good idea? You moron.
Such a bad idea you fire a guy in the middle of the season?
Do you see what he has made Jalen Hurts a legitimate NFL quarterback? The Eagles have lost a single game.
NFL quarterback, MVP candidate.
Yes.
I mean, it's not even just a quarterback. He's that far up there. So I guess, I guess his game last week, those 2 touchdowns, really made an influence on him because they could really use his offense right now. Tennessee's a scrapping team. I don't know. They could end up in the AFC Championship game. They could end up getting knocked out.
They're not in the 6. I think it's down to 6 teams.
But they're a scary team, though.
No, I disagree because even when they were scary during the regular season the last 2 years, when the hot lights come on, Vrabel's one knock is he can't coach playoff football. They're losing to teams in the playoffs that they should have beaten. I'm not scared by Tennessee or Vrabel at all.
There are some teams to prove, though. The Ravens and Tennessee, just keep an eye out.
Yeah, second tier.
Yeah.
Second tier. There's 6 on the top. This is the Rochester Press Box. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills next. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box, our Buffalo Bills segment, brought to you by Ralph Honda for 3 generations and celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today. Find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. Jets are coming to town. What do you think?
I'm feeling good about this. I mean, Mike White's their starting quarterback. The Bills are actually going to have defenders to play, right? Last game they played against New York, no Jordan Poyer, no Matt Milano. Greg Rousseau played like 4 snaps, right? This is the healthiest the Bills have been since opening day, maybe. Von Miller being on IR is no good, but I'm okay with Von Miller not playing a game against Mike White, who last season against the Bills lost 45-17 and threw 4 touchdowns. Look at 4 interceptions.
Look at how great that defense is with Edmonds back in. I mean, that is it's scary. Mike White might quit again. I'm being very serious with this. With the fact that this defense is better at that front line than it's ever been before, I minus Miller, I would love to see him back, but hopefully by the playoffs he'll be fine. This is a really dangerous game for the Jets because this is their season. This is it. You can't go back to Zach Wilson unless White gets hurt. I hope he doesn't. But you can't go back to Wilson. You got to go find out what Mike White is available. If he wins this game, I guess this gives and propels the Jets going forward. But I don't think
this is about when it fell apart for him the last time he got in, right? Wasn't game 3 or something like all of a sudden Mike White became Mike White again?
Yes. He faced a real team. He faced a real NFL team. Now he did have a winning streak prior to that, so that loss might intensify and get him to do a little bit more homework. But I just don't think the Jets have it. They had that momentum about 2 weeks ago when the Bills weren't on their schedule. Now they are, and the Bills' momentum is swinging their way. Like I said, the only game that scares me is the Bengals.
The Bills need to win out to hold on to that first overall seed. In the last 2 seasons, the Bills have won their final 6 games and their final 4 games. They come on strong when they need to, and the running game picks up, which you saw in New England last Thursday night. I have no doubt in my mind the Bills handle business, and against the Jets, it's 9.5.
Yeah.
Vegas knows. The Bills covered for the first time since Green Bay in that game against New England.
Did you hear that, Bill? What do you say, the running game? He hasn't talked about the running game this entire year.
Well, no, but I said it first, so it's my take. It's my take. I just said it.
Don't you dare take the running game away from me. Don't you dare.
Don't you love what you're seeing out of Cook?
I love Cook. I mean, listen, this is the second half of this NFL season where a guy like Cook, cold weather or not, snow weather or not, you got about 3 running backs you can use to really hurt a team, passing game, running game. Give Cup a couple more weeks. If he gets his feet underneath him, you got a dangerous
and where a rookie usually falls apart, too, is at the end of the season because they're not used to playing that many games. But since he played so sparingly in the first part of the season, he's got fresh legs.
I think it's strategic they held him back, and I think it was the right thing for this team going forward.
You saw a similar thing they did with Zach Moss his rookie year, and he was having a heck of a end of the season into the playoffs until he got hurt, ended his season against Baltimore.
9.5, who you got?
I got the Bills over 9.5.
9.5, who you got?
Yeah, Bills by at least 10.
All righty. This is the Rochester Press Box. Our Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by Ralph Honda. Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Hey, hello again, Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. Today's getaway, Boston's North End. It's great Boston food finds. I'll take you to my favorites. Look for The Getaway Guy on Facebook. The Getaway Guy on Facebook.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you by Sport Clips. Where the MVP experience is better than ever, Sport Clips, the pros in men's hair. No appointments are needed. Stop by a Rochester location today. Like it or not, what's happening in baseball? The Darren Judge signing is the big thing.
Okay, I mean, the Aaron Judge signing being the biggest thing. I like what's happening in baseball. I do find it interesting. Wasn't it a year ago that the owners had to lock out the players because they couldn't afford to, pay the... Are you kidding me? With the money that is flying? I don't understand the economics of baseball. It's a regional sport that can pay more money than any other league in the world. What is going on?
No, but especially because you ask us, San Diego offered bigger contracts to Turner and Judge, and they wound up accepting from other teams.
I don't understand the money. To your point, I don't understand the money. I don't even think there's a cap. I just really think it's like an illusion. I think everybody just throws money out there. Their players. What's interesting though, that Trey Turner thing, when he was offered, you mentioned San Diego, I think he was offered more money or close to the same money and chose Philadelphia. So these guys have a lot of different choices at their hands. Look at Jason DeGrom from the Mets, got that deal from the Texans, from Texas to go to the Rangers. I mean, he was still flirting with that money with the Mets. So a lot of guys are making these decisions of where they want to live and getting the boatload of money they want.
So the deal that San Diego offered, not Judge, but what was that deal?
Trey Turner.
Yeah, Trey Turner. What was that deal? Do we know what the money was on that?
It was pretty high. I don't say it was Judge money.
I don't pay attention to it. The numbers are so big, it's meaningless.
Until they sign.
But the point that I'm making is they had two active offers equaling $500 million for two players, and that's after the money that they spent last season on acquiring the guns that they did. This is insane. This is all a big money laundering scheme, right? It has to be. It's all I'm expecting. It's all
so quickly, because you're the Mets guy.
Yeah.
You essentially traded DeGrom for Verlander. Do you like it?
I do, from what I hear from Verlander and the way that he works with the staff. DeGrom was one of those, it's kind of like a breakup. You can feel it. You can almost feel he didn't want to be there. He just waited it out. I think he wanted to go to the South. That's fine. Didn't want to raise his family in New York. That's also fine. It's his prerogative. He's a free agent. Go where he wants. He wanted to go to Atlanta. I think he wanted to play there, but they didn't match the offer. Texas comes with the boatload. I'm okay with it. And I like Verlander. He's a big game pitcher. Let's get to the playoff with him and Scherzer healthy. I love it.
Like or not, Deion Sanders goes to Colorado.
Oh, wait till I get to my unfinished business. Listen,
Oh,
I
good.
like it. I like
depth
it,
here.
and I'll tell you why in unfinished business. But the reason why I like it is because this is what every single coach does. They sell you one thing, they go to another. Nick Saban, prime example, with the Dolphins. Oh, how many times I have to tell you I'm not going to Alabama? Where did he go? Alabama. They lie. This is the way it goes.
Yeah, but what's icky about this is Deion Sanders wasn't a coach, and that was his appeal. He was going out there to be a guy to teach kids how to play football, and then he became a coach.
Yep.
I don't like it.
Guess what? 3 years can change a guy.
No, you're right. It's his prerogative, as you said.
And that whole thing about dismissing the entire Colorado roster at their first team meeting is that is also icky to me.
As sad as that was, I did laugh a little bit. Like, hey, you guys have a good time here? Bye, everybody.
Can somebody look at Colorado's record? I'll do it for you. 1-11. How many people do you want to keep?
Yeah, but
what?
my son is coming in to be the quarterback.
Yeah, and maybe
Little
you can
nepotism,
also
a little-
bad luck.
If he
Also
wins,
bad luck.
And if he wins the game, it's the same total as this past season. So,
Like it or not, brought to you by Sport Clips. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, our unfinished business segment, brought to you by the Genesee Brew House, your beer destination since 2012. Visit the gift shop, enjoy tasting at our pilot brewery, and dine at the pub-style restaurant of the Genesee Brew House. Unfinished business, Pat, start us off.
You know, Yankees fans are celebrating this week because they re-signed Aaron Judge, and I don't know what there is to celebrate about. Let me explain. Aaron Judge is a phenomenal talent. You should be happy he's on your roster. Come back with me. Brian Cashman, general manager, had an opportunity last year. Aaron Judge turned down a 7-year, $213 million contract, and they wouldn't up it anymore to give him what he wanted. So it only cost them $150 million more dollars. How much pitching could $150 million more dollars have bought you, New York Yankees? And the man that negotiated that deal, Brian Cashman, just got an extension of his own because he couldn't go a little higher to get his guy under contract before he exploded. By the way, you have the best hitter in the American League, maybe Major League Baseball, maybe in a very long time in Major League Baseball, period. And you couldn't get the job done because Aaron Bleepin' Boone is your manager and he doesn't know how to manage. And the argument being made by Yankees fans is, well, yeah, you didn't know he was going to explode like that. The reason he had that season was because he knew the contract was on the line. Well, if that's the case, you don't sign him because you're not going to get even close to that production this year at way more money. Oh, I forgot to mention, he's going to be 39 when the deal comes up. Look, man, I like Aaron Judge. I think he did great things for baseball, but this was a terrible series of events, and I don't get why Yankees fans are so excited about it.
Okay, I get it. Deion Sanders left in a terrible way. He promised something 3 years ago, delivered great excitement, a lot of alumni for Jackson State. He did put a lot more notice into historically black colleges when it comes to football, gave him a winning program, and then the offer came. The guy who basically made the song, Must Be the Money, left for the money. Listen, Deion Sanders took a job that he was able to help the people at Jackson State with the water crisis, with all the other issues, all the things that happened at that time, shine a light on it, did a 60 Minutes interview for the sole purpose of putting himself out there. And one university backed up the Brinks truck and offered him 10 times more money. We know he would have taken it, but it's how he left. All the different things that he mentioned about God, all the different things about historically black colleges and coming back and giving back to the community. Yes, I get it. People don't like being used that way, but he did bring notoriety. They offered him a job. Obviously, Jackson State couldn't match it. I'm happy with the way he was able to get to the Buffaloes at the University of Colorado, but I don't like the way it was done. But this is business. Nick Saban did the same thing, and he's doing just fine. Deion Sanders, I know you don't feel good about it, but he did deserve that job, and now he's got it.
If you're watching an NFL game and see Josh Johnson enter in your team's uniform, you know something has gone terribly wrong. It's a great line. I borrowed that from SI's Dan Gartland because I couldn't have said it any better. In the wake of Jimmy Garoppolo's injury, Johnson was signed by the San Francisco 49ers last week. It is his 4th tour of duty with that team alone, one of 14 different NFL teams he's represented. He's also played for 3 teams in 2 other leagues which don't exist anymore. It's a grand total of 17 teams in 15 years. In 2015, Johnson spent the preseason with Cincinnati, was cut by the Bengals, then by the Jets, tried out for the Eagles and Cowboys before being signed by the Colts, where he was cut after 4 days, re-signed, and cut again 6 days later. Less than a day after that, the Buffalo Bills took a flyer on him. Buffalo had only 2 quarterbacks, E.J. Manuel and Tyrod Taylor, and Taylor was hurt. So the Bills signed Johnson. Why not? Everyone else had, and it was still only October. Johnson was second string behind Manuel in a game against Cincinnati. He was the only active player who failed to get into that game, and that was as close as he came. He stayed with Buffalo the rest of the year, pulled a paycheck, but didn't play. He wore number 8. That was the same as Billy Joe Hobart, Brian Moorman, and Jeff Toole. We know this because there are photos. It isn't officially recognized again because he didn't ever play. Released after the 2015 season, Johnson has been signed 13 times since. He's one of only a handful of players left from the 2008 draft class. Josh Johnson has 1 career win, but last year threw for over 300 yards in a game for the Jets, subbing for Mike White, and lost. He's not a journeyman quarterback. Johnson says he's a quarterback on a journey. Not everyone can be the star of their job, he says. It's how you handle it that matters. That sounds like self-help, but it's the truth. And who'd know better? That's our unfinished business, brought to you by the Genesee Brew House, and that is our show. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Looking forward to it. Hopefully the Mets make some signings, but the Giants win more games.
I really like using the name Jeff Toole again.
I got a whole Jeff Toole thing. We'll
Ooh, can we record after the show and put that later?
No, there's my deal.
Hey, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Rochester Press Box.